So today, on this very special testimony, we have Valerie, Miss Valerie. Val, I want to first of all thank you for having the courage, the strength to even sit in that chair and begin to be vulnerable with us in the world. And we're going to be talking today about your precious eldest son, yes, Mr. Shaiden. I've had the pleasure of actually meeting Shaiden when he was just a baby. And he is your oldest, correct?
My oldest, yes.
Okay, and you're a mother of how many?
3.
3, okay. How old are your other 2 kids?
My daughter just turned 26, and then my youngest son is 21.
20, okay. So your babies are young adult babies.
Yes, they are not babies anymore, but definitely always my babies.
Perfect, okay. So today we are going to be discussing Shaiden and his legacy that he has left here with you, yes, with us. And can you tell me how you felt when you got pregnant with Shaiden?
Gosh, I was so young. It was, I guess I didn't really understand it at first. I knew my parents were going to throw a fit. I knew it wasn't ideal. I knew it was going to be a big deal, but I knew it was God's blessing from the beginning, so I was excited and scared, of course. But
right. How old were you?
I was 15.
15, okay.
15.
So you were a baby yourself.
I was.
So here you are, a young mother,
yes,
scared.
Yes.
And how did your family end up embracing your first pregnancy?
Oh, he turned out to be my family's king. He was the first grandson, first nephew, first everything. His dad is was an only child. So he was very special on the other side too. So he was just special
all around.
All around.
So yes, he was getting spoiled.
Yes.
On mom's side, dad's side.
Yes.
Okay. And this was first grandbaby.
First grandbaby.
Okay.
Yes.
And what was Shaiden like as a baby?
He was a very hard baby. He had lots of colic.
Okay.
As he got older, we realized he was lactose intolerant. So, of course, when he was a baby, it was like every 30 minutes he had colic. And I was still in high school, and so I stayed with my parents. Mm-hmm. And so my mom was, of course, she's an angel. She just helped me and, made sure that, she stepped in when she needed to help me with him so I could still finish school and do the things, that, of course, of anyone my mom would want me to do, and so she'd take him to sleep with her sometimes, so I would get up to go to school. And some days I was so tired, I'm like, yes, please take him. And then other days I'm like, no, leave him, because like I would get out of school, I just couldn't wait to come home to my baby. But he was a really good baby other than that.
Really?
He just had a lot of tummy issues as a little baby. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so how were you able to manage being a teen mother?
Honestly, because I had my parents, really my mom, I had a solid foundation, good support system. My mom from the beginning said, I'll do everything to help you finish going to school, whatever I need to do to make sure you're successful. And, I had older sisters and, a younger brother, I had a little sister. So it was kind of a family thing. And, I had my village, and I'm so grateful that I did, because I wouldn't have, I didn't know the first thing about being a mom. I mean, I feel like still, even now that I've raised all my children, I don't know the first thing about being a mom. It's just,
you have no book.
You do the best you can, I guess.
And so was Shaiden able to watch you graduate? Or obviously we are in my yearbook. I wish I would have brought that. I didn't think when I graduated he was with me, and they had a program that had just started a few years, maybe a year or two before that, that would help teen moms be able to get through their high school years faster. So I actually graduated a year early. Nice.
I should have graduated in 99, and I graduated in 98 because I was able to get into that program that would help me, speed my education to be able to, go ahead and be his mom full time, I guess.
Well, you're my hero. Being a mom, a young mom, having a baby, not knowing where do I even start. Mm-hmm. Of course, mentally being a child yourself. I'm pretty sure Shaiden just wasn't all of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you were just...
I always pray that he was.
Yes. And so what was he like as a toddler? Was he still a good baby?
He was always really good, just kind of very independent, but very just always paying attention to everything, learning, taking everything in. You know, he never really he never went with the flow. He always went against the grain, you know, and he was going to learn things for himself. He was going to understand things the way he wanted to, the way he saw them, not the way you asked, you know, not the way he's told he should see things. You know, he was always just very smart, very intelligent, and
very leadership.
Yes. You know, he was such a good guy just all around. You know, he was a good kid.
A good kid. And did he do any sports?
He did. When they were little, gosh, my poor babies, they did all the sports. They did all the sports. Yes. And, you know, my kids are naturally blessed. They're good at everything they try. Anything they want to do, they can do it. You know, whether it's books, athletics, anything. They will just excel. And so he was really good at baseball, but he hated it. Like every year we'd have to like bribe him with all the new stuff, the latest, coolest things. And he would still cry every day at baseball practice. Aww. And he was so good at it. And so I thought, if we push him enough, he'll realize he loves it, you know? And finally, I'm like, okay, he hates it. You know, like, it's fine. He doesn't have to do it. And so he did football, he did swimming, he did soccer, he did golf. He ended up really loving football, of course, because it was a contact sport, you know, a boy thing. And so he did that. So that's what he kind of stuck to, the football.
So that's what who was his favorite team?
The Cowboys, of course, Dallas Cowboys. By default, he grew into. I know,
but his parents. No, we're not gonna let him go.
No, and so he was always a diehard Cowboy fan.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Hopefully, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
He'd probably be very disappointed.
I know.
And how was Shaiden as an older brother? When did your second baby come into the picture?
Well, it was almost like I had twins for the longest time because they were only a year and a half apart. So it was a lot. And so I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter, I thought, okay, I have to have him out of bottles, out of diapers, you know, all this stuff before she gets here, because then it's going to be double everything. So I always felt like maybe he had to grow up a little bit faster to make room for his sister. Aww. But his sister was his best friend in the whole world, so I know he wouldn't have wanted it any other way, you know. So yeah, he took on that role and just always took care of her. He was just a caring person by nature, you know.
So was he excited for his baby sister? And
I don't think he really understood what was happening, but he just never left her side when she was born. And so he knew it was important and she was special, and this is this baby that's here forever now. So I mean, he just took to her. He never felt less than, you know. He just, because they were like twins, you know. I was dressed in the same colors.
I remember.
Yeah. So everywhere we go, and of course she ends up sprouting so much faster than him. Yes. And so everybody always thought she was the oldest, or that they were twins. And so for a long time he would get real frustrated because it took him a little while to grow. He ended up taller than her at the very end, thankfully. Yeah. But growing up, he was shorter than her for a long time, and that was, you know, he hated it because she was younger than him. But yeah, no, they were inseparable. Inseparable. Yeah. And
then when did your third baby come along? How did you feel about that?
Well, Cadence came along like 6 years later, and they just took to him. It wasn't ever
just bonded really well.
Yeah, they were just like, okay, we're gonna have this baby. This is mom's having a baby. This is our baby. It was easy, you know. Not easy getting used to the third baby by any means. I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but no, they were great. You know, they were always they always took care of him. They always helped with him, taught him everything. You know, Shaiden always made sure he taught him to do all the things that a man does or a boy does. You know, just to be a boy, a strong boy. You know, and so he just always took on the role that he felt people needed from him. You know, and I think that's what made him very special. He had so many friends and so many people that cared about him, and it's just, I'm so grateful that to know so many people cared about him.
Exactly, and he just played such a huge role
Yes.
in people's lives.
Yes.
He wasn't mediocre
Mm-mm.
or, a very, very huge blessing from God.
Yes.
For sure, and I remember them being little, and I just always remember admiring you because Shaiden was always dressed to the nines, and your daughter was dressed to the nines, and then you had your baby, and you're like changing diapers, and these, your nails are done. And I'm like, wow, she's an amazing mother.
Thank you.
You were just very inspiring to watch with all three of them, and I remember it so vividly, and so. It's an honor to sit here and talk about Shaiden and your other two children.
Thank you.
Shaiden growing up, becoming a teenager, was that an easy transition? Because I know during those years it can be a little heavy and hectic. And
it was a little tough. At that time, it was just me and the kids, so I had to play both roles as they're loving, caring, this person that just gives them all the love they need and the nurture, the safety. But then I had to be the governing parent too, and so it was extremely difficult. It was just it was the hardest, one of the hardest parts of raising children, I think. And by the grace of God, he's never left my side and somehow always gave me the strength. I'm sure, like all parents, I didn't do everything right, or I'm not even sure what right or wrong is when you're parenting, because literally you just wing it, I guess. I mean, at least that's what I did, and I feel like I'm still doing. You just, I guess, day by day, give them what they need, and whatever that is on that day.
And by this time, was Shaiden still into football? Had he ventured off to?
He was. It was just in school, I guess. There's a lot of different things that come into play with athletics, and so he was working really hard and doing everything on his end, and he just felt like he was doing all this work for nothing when it came down to the actual games and stuff. And so by this time, I've kind of learned, like, I have to listen to my children, listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're asking, what their needs are, what their wants are. And it was really hard for me as a parent to accept, like, after his sophomore year, doesn't want to play football anymore. But I did make him finish the year. I said, okay, well, we're not quitters, which I know. I probably, yes. I'm like, and I feel if you allow yourself to quit now, it'll be an easy way out of things when they get hard, and so he wasn't happy about it, and he was really mad at me, but he finished, and he was grateful for it. He was grateful that he had to finish and that I didn't give him a choice, because it almost gave him a sense of when you start something, finish it. Even if it gets hard, you don't quit, and so looking back on it, it had to be a lesson that God put in our path for his future, because I feel like that kind of came into play in the rest of his life, as far as like not quitting when things got hard, which a lot of times you want to do, when things are hard, you want to quit, but you can't, obviously. So
he has a good mama. And so y'all's relationship was really strong?
It was, all three, because it was just us four, and so we only had each other, and so we always said, as long as it's us four, we're good. We can always count on each other. And that was I think that was the biggest thing for us, is if we're better together, And so to this day, it's what helps me and my two younger kids that I still have here keep going, because it's like we're better together. And I know one day we'll be okay not being together all the time, but right now we need that to be okay.
Yes.
And I know they're grown and they're not babies, but it's what they need. And a mom is always a mom.
They'll always need their mom.
I know my mom was still here. I could still call her every day about everything and anything. And so, I aspire to be that mom.
You definitely are, Val. I give you your props. Even to this day, it is the toughest job in the world. It's hard. You always feel, am I doing enough? Am I enough for them? And just from an outside person looking in, you are an inspirational mother. You are a strong mother, and your kids are just so blessed to have a good mom, because honestly, there's a lot of kids that lack that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want you to know we are very proud of you.
Thank you.
Especially having to endure what you have with Shaiden. And so we'll get into that topic. Where was Shaiden at, I guess, after, what year did he graduate?
Gosh, I'm not even sure, honestly.
Did he graduate from?
He graduated from Pecos High School.
From Pecos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he graduated from over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those who are unaware, Pecos is
Oh, yes.
crusty, dusty town.
Yes.
That's about an hour away
Yes.
from Midland, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Which
Okay,
was
so he
home for
graduated
them.
from there.
And
Right.
that was home for them, and then we moved, of course. So one of his things was he really wanted to graduate with his friends in Pecos.
In Pecos.
And so he went to school there his senior year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that make you feel to watch your son accomplish something like that?
I was very proud of him. I mean, I always knew he would. I always knew he'd graduate high school and do whatever his heart desired, because that's the type of person he was. He was going to do what he was going to do, and so I was excited to see whatever that was, because I knew he wanted to do everything for everyone. So I knew he had big dreams, and I was just excited to see what he was going to do with that. And so when he graduated, he was very proud of himself,
Yeah.
of course, and we were very proud of him. So yeah, it was a big milestone for him. He was trying to do everything he wanted his siblings to do. He wanted to set a good example for them, and
So he kept that drive for
yes,
them.
and I feel like
into a young adulthood.
yes, anything he accomplished, he was. I as a mom watching him, I really feel like he was doing that for his brother and sister, because it really was just us four, and I was busy working and raising them, so.
And what was Shaiden's dreams and aspiration? Did he discuss that with you after graduation?
After graduation, he was very honest. He said, Mom, I don't know if going to school, which school, he meant college after high school, is what I want to do. Like, he was very honest, and that's what I loved about him. He was always very honest with me about his wants and what he didn't want, obviously. And he said, and I feel like you'll just be wasting your money sending me to school because my heart's not in it. And because, that was one thing that I always taught my kids was communication, honesty, everything. Our feelings are valid regardless of what you feel might or might not be. And so, those moments when they could come to me, those big decisions they had made for themselves, it was always bittersweet. I was proud as a mother, and of course, a little sad as a mother, because you want your kids to go to school, you want them to do all the things and for their future, and but I thought, what, like, it's not what he wants right now, and I mean, at least he's honest, and
right.
So I was like, okay, like, that's fine, you tell me what we're doing, and so it was just kind of that way with him. He just kind of always, when he was young, I would always like tell him, don't do this or don't do that. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm trying to help you not make the same mistakes. And he would say, Mom, like, he would be real serious. He'd say, Mom, I have to make my own mistakes. You have to let me make my own mistakes. And I knew he meant that with his whole heart. And so I would stand on the sidelines as much as I could to allow him the space he needed to discover whoever he was going to be and whatever he needed to do that, and that's hard. That's really hard as a parent, but I just felt it was either that or we were going to have a really hard relationship, and I mean, he was going to do it anyways, I feel like, because I was that headstrong kid that was going to do it anyway, and so, it was just one of those things.
So you got it from somebody?
Yes, no, and it was definitely that, and so I respected the fact that he knew who he was and what he wanted, and I guess as a parent, like, what more do you want for your child, like, they don't conform, they know who they are, they stand strong even if it's on their own, and it's hard, but it's I'm also proud,
Yeah,
so
He sounds very wise.
Yes, always wise
Very
guy
wise.
beyond his years, and I always blame my mom for that. I think he got that because, my mom was just wise beyond her years, and he spent so much time with her growing up. So he had a lot of my mom's ways, and I'm grateful for that because she helped me set that unshakable foundation that my kids, all three of them, revert back to, and I love that.
Yeah, their bond.
Mhm.
So do you think he was probably an old soul?
Definitely an old soul. Even all the music he listened to, it would be like music we would listen to when he was little, and it was just stuff he carried with him, and it was just awesome watching him just become whoever he was going to be. As hard as it was also amazing.
Yeah, beautiful boy.
Yeah.
Beautiful boy. And so, did Shaiden ever fall in love? Was he ever?
He did. He did. He had a long-term girlfriend for a long time during high school. They moved together to San Antonio. Greatest girl, very sweet. She took exceptional care of him. She had a great family. They were great together. So they were together for a few years, but Shaiden was very young, and he still needed to figure out who he was. And as much as he loved her, he loved himself more, and I was proud of him for that too, because a lot of times I feel like we just keep doing what we've always done because it's what's easy, and that was just not like him. If he got comfortable and he knew like this is not where the road ends, whatever, he always found a way to keep climbing, and he was just awesome like that.
Yeah,
he just
honest.
was. Yeah, he was just. He was great.
Yeah, very honest person, especially in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure he took all the wisdom from seeing maybe what you and his dad had
Mm-hmm.
been through, and maybe prior relationships to that.
Yeah.
And so so Shaiden's on this road. When did he? I guess because I know he became a father.
He did.
He became a father
Yes.
at some point, and he had a beautiful little girl.
Yes.
When did this?
So
That road take place?
Yeah, he when we moved here, he made a lot of friends. Naturally, he was just a friendly person.
And this is from Pecos or San
here.
Antonio?
No. When we moved here to
Mhm.
Midland after we left their dad, he made a lot of friends here.
Okay.
And one of his friends, they end up friends this whole time. They're friends, and later in the future, they ended up in a relationship, and kind of like just a more of a friendship relationship. That resulted in them having a baby.
Okay.
And Shaiden was he was gonna do what he felt in his heart, and so he and my granddaughter's mom entered in a relationship, and so they were good together, but she already had a little girl, and so he would take care of the little girl, and he was, so I was excited. I was getting him to watch him be a father before he even had his own daughter, and so
it was already showing fathership too.
Yes, and he just took that role on. It was just natural. He loved this little girl. She loved him. He would comb her hair, do all the things, and we would too. Like she was like our granddaughter, because of course she was part of our family now, and so we loved her. And then eventually they had their own baby, and so it was exciting. But we kind of already felt like grandparents because we had
of the
Giovanna.
Okay.
Yes. So it was kind of exciting adding to that. We're like, okay, like we're gonna have another baby. We don't know if it's a girl, it's a boy, but we're gonna hear more little feet and more, our family's gonna continue to grow. So we were super excited. Scared and nervous for him and for her, of course. But they were kind of ready for it. They just took it on, and I was very grateful that I was able to watch him be a father, because he was the best father. Like he in every way you can think of, he was, and just so naturally, and he was so young too, you know. And
yeah, how old was he?
Let me see, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
All right, he was at the teen years.
Yeah. So you know, he was old enough. Yeah, he was old enough. But you know,
still young.
Yeah, 20 years old. You're still very young. Very, you know, you're definitely not grown up at that age yet.
Yeah, 20s I think are like a trial run.
Yeah, you're kind of, you're like, okay, now I'm supposed to start learning how to be an adult, but you know, it's like you're barely a year old again in adult life, you know. So it was really beautiful to just watch him be a dad. He was real headstrong about his place in her life. So he ended up, when he found out they were going to have this baby, he always wanted to be a barber. So he said, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to be a barber so I can make whatever hours, I can have my own schedule so I don't miss out on anything for my daughter. And he did exactly that. He went to school, he did his barber thing, and so when she was born, he was able to be there for everything, you know, for everything. And I was just proud that he was able to manage that all on his own, you know. I mean, he had a great support system, of course, but I mean, he pretty much did it on his own, and that was hard for me too, because I wanted to do it all of it, because I wanted these babies, you know. But I also had to accept my role in their life, you know, and that was when he allowed that role, you know, or he allowed that time, or, you know, he was very private, you know. He would send me pictures, but before he would, he'd be like, Mom, and don't send these pictures to everybody, and don't be putting them on social media, and you know, I'm sending these to you, so, you know. And I'm like, okay. So everything always came with a lot of rules with him, you know, especially when it was his daughter. And so I respected that, you know, because he wouldn't let me cross those boundaries even if I wanted to. And he always, but he made them clear from the beginning, so it wasn't. And still, sometimes I would push the boundary, you know, like it was almost like the roles are reversed, and I'm trying to push my limits, you know, with these babies. And I would take them to the store, buy them whatever they wanted, and he would be like, where was all this money when I was little? And I'm like, I was broke when you were little, you know?
I'm not broke anymore.
Yeah, and so we had so much fun, you know. We did, when it was just him and the girls, you know. We'd carve pumpkins, we would just do whatever, you know.
Family.
And it was beautiful to, you know, those memories I will carry forever, you know. So
yeah, he made you a grandma. He made you proud all around. Great. Sounds like an amazing man. Fortunately, most men would, run away from that responsibility. Hear your son said, you know. Ran to his responsibilities and just stepped up, and I was proud of him. You know, I was so proud of him because, you know, he had been through so much in his life. It was easy for him to go one direction or the other. And he always found his way to go in the direction he should, you know. And I was always proud of that. So Shaiden's a dad. You're totally excited being a grandma. What were you called? I know it wasn't grandma.
It actually was just Grandma Val. Yeah, it was so basic. But it was what the older little girl just called me, and so it was fine. I'm like, as long as they know I'm grandma, you know, and they love my house, that's all, you know. And so it was Grandma Val, and which is a little weird because, you know, I don't know that I'll ever feel old, and I guess you put kind of grandma and old together, and so it was so surreal, you know. I loved it. I was super excited. One thing I did get to do with my granddaughter, was pierce my granddaughter's ears. And so that was a big deal for us. You did it? No, I didn't. We took her to do it. Yeah, no, I know. Yes, we took her. Yes, I wish. No, and it was just so. It was an experience for sure. You know, just Mijo was so like nervous about it because it was gonna hurt her, but he wanted her to get these earrings. You know, and you know he was just always very sharp and very put together, and he wanted the same for his babies. And so we got to do that, and he was so proud after taking pictures, and you know, just it was a big deal for us because it was something I had done with my kids, you know. And so to be able to experience that with my son and his baby, it was very special. And so
good memory.
So he was so happy that day, and I was happy that I was able to do that with him, because I had very few roles that I could take in her life and the other little girl's life, and because they were such hands-on parents, and
the 20 rules.
They wanted to do everything for these babies, and so I had to just do the little things they allowed me. And so for me, they were always big things, whether it was just taking them to the park, buying them little dresses to dance in, or just little things that he said, this is a grandma thing, and so it was always a lot of fun.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's those little tiny moments that just captivate your heart forever. And they stay vivid, and they stay burnt in your memory forever. And I hope that memory just carries on for you for as long as, the Lord allows us to be here.
For sure.
And so Shaiden's, growing up, how old is his daughter when the unfortunate accident happened?
2.
She was
2. She was about to be 3. His accident was in the end of December, beginning of December, and her birthday is in January, late January.
She
was about to be 3.
She was about to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so Val, just take us to that time. And again, thank you for being vulnerable, because it's very difficult to discuss that time, because as many good memories that we have, it's almost as if the tragedy takes over all those faint memories, the good ones. And so now we're having to, how do we overcome something this tragic? And if you can just take us to what caused Shaiden to pass on to the next life.
Well, I remember that it was a Saturday. We had seen him that Thursday and Friday. It was because he would get Jaylena on a Thursday, and he would take, if it was his weekend, he would take her to daycare Friday and then pick her up from daycare. If it was her mom's weekend, she would spend the night with him Thursday night, and then he would take her to daycare, and her mom would pick her up from daycare. Okay. So that weekend, it was her mom's turn. So he had her that Thursday night, which they were at home with us, and then Friday he took her to daycare, and then her mom was going to pick her up because it was her weekend. So that Saturday, he called me early, and I was asleep, and so when I woke up, I called him, and he said, "Hey Mom, what are you doing? I'm bored, and come see me at the shop." I guess he was slow. He didn't have very many clients that day, and so he said, "I'm bored, y'all come." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we're really waking up, so give me at least like an hour to get there, And he said, "Oh, an hour? You're gonna take forever." And I'm like, "No, I'm waking Sunny up right now. We're come as quick as we can." He had been bugging my husband to get a certain specific haircut. Was it a mullet, maybe?
Mullet?
I want to say mullet, possibly. And Sonny kept saying, no. And so that day I told him, I said, "Hey, Shaiden's bored. He wants us to come over." And he said, "Yeah, that's cool. I'll go ahead and let him give me that haircut." And I was just like, I said, "Oh, he's going to be excited about that." So we got up, just kind of rinsed off, threw ourselves together, because we were just going to the barbershop. Went to the barbershop, and he cut Sonny's hair, and we ran a few errands with him, and he said he needed to pick up his truck because he was getting a system put in it, and then he was getting tires rotated, and then he had to drop it. He was fixing up his truck, my little sister had invited us to Pecos for a birthday party, for my brother-in-law's birthday party. And so I had told Mijo, "Hey, we're going to be in Pecos." He said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Pecos." And I said, "What are you going to Pecos for?" And he said, "I'm just going to go hang out. Since I don't have the baby and I have a little bit of money, I'm going to just go see what's up." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, we're going to be over there too, so we'll see you over there." He said, "Yeah, Mom, that sounds good." And so we took him to drop off his truck, and then we dropped him back off at work. And he said, "Yeah, I'm going to probably head out about 7 or so." And I said, "Okay, we're probably leaving around 5. This was early." And I said, "Okay, so we'll see you there." And he was like, "Okay, Mom." And he was getting off our truck. And then I said, "Be extra careful, Shaiden Paul." And he said, "I know, Mom." And I remember it so vividly. He's looking at me from, he's getting off the truck, and I'm in the front looking back at him. And I'm like, as a mom, of course, I'm always, "Be careful, I love you," just smothering them. he says, I know, Mom. And I said, I know you know, but I'm your mom and I have to tell you. And he said, okay. And I said, okay, I love you with my whole heart. And he said, I love you too, Mom. And he shut the door. And we just assumed we'd see him in Vegas, you know, and he never made it. And I'm very grateful that the last words we spoke to each other were, I love you. Because, you know, things weren't always perfect between me and him. And so those weren't always the goodbyes we had. And I'm very grateful that God gave me that, because I think it's made his passing so much less hard. I mean, it's not easy, but I'm at peace, you know, because
That y'all had a
it was
moment.
beautiful, you know, and we were kind of just back to where we always were, and we were at a great place, and I got to spend that whole day with him. You know, God gave me that. He knew what I was going to need to be okay, and I'm super grateful for that. The previous week, he had come to the house, and it was like 10 o'clock. My other two kids already lived in Austin, so it was just Sunny and I at home. So he would just come, go whenever. He showed up with stuff to make nachos, and this is just such a big memory that I have. He had brought chips and Velveeta cheese, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, you know, and he's like, hey, Mom, like, what are you doing? Are y'all hungry? And Sunny's like, I'm not hungry. And I'm like, what you got, right? And he said, I brought stuff for nachos, and he's all happy, you know, and I'm like, okay. And I'm tired, you know, I was really tired. It was late. Well, for us, it was late. And, but something told me, like, spend this time with him, because you never know what the future will bring. And I felt it so strong. And I was just like, you're right. Like, I don't know what tomorrow will bring, you know? And I'm so grateful God gave me that, because I could have just been like, oh, you know, we'll make my nachos tomorrow, which we still had a few tomorrows at that time. I didn't know, but we had a few tomorrows. And I just feel like God always gives us what we need even before we need it. And I'm very grateful that he gave me that, and so many precious memories that year leading up to him passing, you know. And so it's something that gives me peace on the harder days, you know. I'm like, you know, I just see his face. I love you too, Mom. Like, just telling me he loves me. A little annoying because I'm his mom and smothering him when he's grown, you know, but they always knew, like, as their mom was going to tell him and whatever I had to say. And so they just took it, and, you know, they always had so much patience. He had a lot of patience for me, and I'm just grateful that where we were in our relationship and in life at that time, because we had a great relationship, and he knew where home was, and he knew, you know, where he could drop his girls off anytime he needed, for as long as he needed. He'd come, Mom, here's the girls, or here's the baby, because he had to get to work or he had to get to school, you know. He was always just doing something to just push ahead in life, you know. And I feel like he had finally figured it out, and he was ready to go home, you know. And I don't know, I think, like, maybe God takes us when our soul is ready, you know, and his soul was ready. And I'm grateful that he's in a better place, you know. And I know that one day we'll meet him again, and so I look forward to that.
Do you ever dream about him?
I do. One of the main things is I was always finding dimes after he went to be with the Lord, you know. And of course, I never thought anything of it. And then I started reading about it because it was just happening so often. And it said it's like your loved ones that have passed, you know, letting you know that they're close or they're near. And so I was very inspired by that, and I'm like, wow, cool, okay, and still a little in disbelief about it, 'cause anyway, but it's like on the hardest days, you know, sometimes I'll find 2 or 3 dimes, you know, all together, and I'm like, it's like he knows I had a really good day, and that is going to help me just push through that day. I started a new job a few years ago, and I had to park in the front, and I didn't move my car that whole day. But when I was done at the end of that first work day, because I was very excited about this new job I was getting, and a little bittersweet that I didn't have all my kids to share that with. And of course, I didn't say that to anyone. I just, you know, I internalize a lot to not burden other people with that. You know, because people don't know how to feel for you when you've been through something like that. And so most of the time, I feel like I internalize to allow people, you know, just to be okay around you sometimes, because that's even hard. Anyways, that day when I was leaving, I was gonna go get in my car, and there was 2 dimes right there, like where there was no way I could miss them, and they weren't there that morning, you know. And I just knew it was him telling me, like, I'm here, Mom, like, I know I'm celebrating with you, this is a big deal, like, don't be sad, because it was like the only thing I could really be happy about. But it was like, he told me I'm here, like, celebrate, be happy, because I am sharing this moment with you. And so I was grateful, and I cried. Those are happy tears. These are happy tears because even he's still taking care of us, even if he's not here, you know. And it's something he always did. It was just in his nature. And so, you know, it's just a beautiful thing when you just kind of slow down and pay attention to the world, what's going on around you, the little things, you know. It's the little things that I miss. I used to, and I would just do it because it would just drive him crazy. I would like spank his butt. He was gonna kill me for saying this.
Love tap.
And he would be like, Mom, he was real serious too. You can't do that anymore. I'm like, yes I can. And he's like, Mom, for real, you can't do it. Like, he was real serious. Like, he wanted to laugh because it was funny, but he would get real serious about it, and I'd be like, okay, I won't do that no more. Every once in a while, just like randomly, I would do it every blue moon, just because I knew he didn't like it, but it was also funny, you know. So, or to me, it was funny, and he would get real serious.
Funny.
Yeah, he would get real serious.
Yeah.
And it was just little things like that. Like, we had these just special moments and things that we shared just between me and him, you know. And just even the little things, like he would cook something really good. He was the most amazing cook too, I guess I should say that. Anything we ever ate, it's literally still the best thing we've ever eaten, because he would make it with so much love and pride to show us like how well he could make food, you know. And one time we were gonna make chicken strips, and he said, but I'll do it, Mom, I'll do it. Like, don't worry, I'll do it, because he wanted it his way, you know. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm like, even better, you know, if you want to do it. He had to run to the store for something, so I made a few just so we could taste the batter. He came back and I said, I just made a few just so we can see if it's going to be good or whatever. Well, he eats one. He said, you know what, Mom? You can make the chicken strips. And I was like, oh, are they good enough? Like, do they taste good enough? And he said, no, they're actually great, you know. And so he let me make them. But at first he's like, Mom, I'm going to do them if that's okay. And I was like, yeah, of course. And once he tasted them, he was like, you know what, Mom, it's okay. You can make them. And just little.
You got to get the okay.
Yes. Yeah. And it was little things like that. Like, he was just very who he was, you know. And I miss him so much all the time, because, you know, just that part of him, you know, just he was funny and so serious at the same time, and, you know, super outgoing but very reserved, and he was just a friendly person, you know. And when he passed, like, the outpour of people that I didn't even know he knew or had relationships with, I mean, it was just like, as much as I knew him, there was still so much more to learn about him as an adult, you know. And it was just, you know.
So you got to see what kind of character your son
had. The legacy he left behind, you know. And everybody like, oh yeah, he was like just a cool ass dude, you know. Like, just everybody had just stories about him, how he helped them or how he inspired them or how he, pushed them to remember who they were, just all the things. And I'm like, he really was special, just special. And so it's very hard to accept that, he was called home, but.
Right, you feel robbed, and
yes.
You want to see your child obviously live
yes.
longer than you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
should be the other way around, and unfortunately these things take place, they happen.
Yes.
You're not alone in this.
And you always think like it won't happen to you.
Exactly.
Or you hear a tragedy and you're like, gosh, like my heart goes out to them. You send prayers their way, you call, you text, and there's nothing even really that you can say, but you want them to know you're there. And it's like when you go through it, it's kind of like, it's almost like not real, but then it is your reality. I don't know. Or maybe for me, because it's what I do to be okay.
It feels very like you're in an alternate universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're on Earth, but you're really somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like your body's here, but your mind, your heart are in a different, dimension.
And that's really hard when you have other kids, because I get up every day and try hard for them. But a big part of me is so absent,
Yeah, no. And it's one of those things that you have to take a second at a time. And obviously your whole world changes in a moment. Nothing's the same. You don't think the same. You don't feel the same. You look at the world different, people different. And I'm so happy that Shaiden still reminds you, Mom, I'm here. I'm here. My soul's here with you. Physically, I'm gone. And it's so unfortunate. I even feel robbed,
Yes.
I feel like the world got robbed of Shaiden and his future potential. But of course, we have to be grateful for what God allows in our lives and how much time He gave y'all. To borrow Shaiden in a sense, because ultimately we do go back to our Creator.
Right.
And so, how do you try to cope day to day now?
At first, all I knew was that I couldn't just stay in bed, because that's all I wanted to do. But I knew allowing myself that there would possibly be no end to that. And I still had my granddaughters and I still had my kids, So I knew that was not an option. So I dug really deep. I didn't want to pray. But I knew that was the only way I was going to survive. And so I told God, whatever I need to learn from this, or however I keep going, I know that's going to be with your strength, because I have none. And, I took a few days, I just slept and just kind of, I didn't want to be awake to feel what was actually happening. But I never stopped praying. And one day I just got in the shower. I went for a run because it's something I've always done. And I said, even if I can just get up and take a shower and go for a run every day,
That's something.
I'm doing something. I'm showing my kids that I'm trying, because I wanted them to know I was trying. And I wanted to keep going in a positive way. I wanted to figure out how to keep living, to help other people continue to keep going, especially my kids, because I could see they were just broken and I couldn't fix it, And I thought, if they just can see me just putting one foot in front of the other, at least I'm trying to show them strength, or at that time, my strength, you know. And so from there, you know, I'd get up. That was my goal, just to get out of the shower, just to be able to shower, go for a run. That was my goal every day. And then I would just add something to that every day. If it was okay, today maybe glance at our budget, because it was something I always did for our family, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't, like, I felt like I lost my mind. Like I was here, but not here. And so here we are, almost 3 years later, and still hurts just as much. But I'm working. My days start at 4 a.m. because I have to do that in order to get my gym in, because now I go to the gym every day, because it helps me feel better, mind, body, soul, spirit. I feel better when I go to the gym. So I get up at 4, I go to the gym, and then I get home, I get ready, and I go to work, and I'm at work all day. I get out, I go home, spend time with my kids, my puppies, make dinner. We sit down and have dinner together every day. So I've tried to fill my days and my life with what's important, and trying to accept that I'm just never going to be that person anymore, because I feel like after, I was still trying to be everything I had always been. Everybody's friend, everybody's, you know, having a social life is hard, you know. I've always been a friendly person, so I have a lot of friends, you know. And it was just, I didn't want to do any of that anymore. Everything was meaningless now. You know, I wanted to spend time doing the things that were going to matter if there was no tomorrow. And so that's what I do now. And, you know, I talk to people, and, you know, when people want to listen or they have things going on, you know, I want to be whatever people need in this world, you know, and put as much good into the world as I can, as long as God allows me, you know. And so I pray every day for God to allow me, you know, to be his hands and feet here on earth, and do what I need, whatever my purpose is in this world, you know. I want to do that. I want to be that, and whatever that means. I mean, there's nothing in this world